to Podcast Fandom, the official podcast for ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Nina, and I am back to start a brand new series. This one's been on the schedule for a minute, and I'm joined by a very special guest to talk about this series because I could not do it alone. So today we're going to be talking about Pachinko, which is a new series that has that debuted on Apple Plus TV a few weeks ago. We're going to be discussing the first 3 episodes, and I am joined by my friend Julie.
Hi.
I know, I was like, Julie, and then I was going to say a bunch more. She's literally just my friend, and she's awesome. Well, I guess I should say there's another reason that I asked this particular friend to come on and talk about this particular show, because Julie is Korean American. Yes. And I realized as I was taking notes and watching it and really loving it, I would say things like, I wonder what that is about, or I wonder what that feels like, or, and I was like, writing it down to talk about on the podcast, but I was like, it's stupid if it's just me. Why not have someone on who has some experience that can inform some of my questions? So that's why I asked you on. But also, you're just lovely. So
thank you.
You stop it. Sorry, my dog's growling in the background. So just a bit of setup. So Pachinko is based off of a novel by the same name. The author, her name is Min-Jin Lee. I had it up in the background and then I closed it. Apparently the novel did really well.
Yes.
Lots of people bought it, read it, loved it. I believe it won a few awards. I'm trying to pull up what I had on her. And what's so funny? I see the author on Twitter a lot. And I feel like I might have even had an exchange with her once. And I did not know. And then, so I started watching this show, and I did not know that she was the author of this book until yesterday. And I was like, oh, I've seen her tweets. And yeah, so duh. But yeah, and so the like I said, the show debuted on Apple Plus TV a few weeks ago, and they did the thing where they dropped 3 episodes at once. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I think there have been 2 episodes since. Every Friday it's a new episode. So going forward, it will be 1 episode discussed per week. But we're going to talk about the 3 that were dropped on debut week. Julie, have you read this novel?
I did. It was a while back. So a lot of it it felt like it was the first time when I watched it on the show. But I do know some of the major plot points. But I won't,
Oh, of
I
course.
promise not to spoil anything.
No, that's fine. I know. So let me ask you, what we typically do is we just give our overall thoughts before we talk about the details. So as someone who has read the book, one, what were your thoughts on the book? And then overall, these first 3 episodes so far, how do you feel about them, particularly in comparison to the book?
I guess highest level, Min-Jin Lee, she's such a good, just, the people who can just write their asses off, right? Just that craft, super immersive, but in a very, reverent way. It almost felt like a, kind of this running poem,
yes,
with a rhythm of it, in and of itself. And
I read the first couple of pages 30 minutes ago.
Oh yeah, so you could
yeah.
It starts right away.
Yes,
just poetry, right?
Yes, history has failed us, but no matter, or something like that. I believe is how it starts. Yeah.
And I was wondering if that kind of reverent tone would appear in the TV show, and it seems to do that. There are a lot of really key moments of silence, right? And things that are a big deal, right? If it happened to you in real life, it's shown very without much sentimentality. It's just just shown because that's just part of life.
Yeah,
and then
it just happens
keep it
that
moving.
Way. Yes,
that kind of time marching on thing. I thought they captured that really, really well. But in terms of like just seeing it come to life, it's just like it was. I think the first time I saw like a person just kind of walking on screen, I
Mm-hmm.
just immediately started crying. Like it's just
Oh,
so immersive. Like
yeah.
you can't tell. Like you can't tell at all. Like this could be a documentary for all I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was crazy.
The you said that, and okay, so I would tell you the part that I started crying and like I cried a few times, but the part that I started crying and paused and then wrote you and was like, "What are you doing? How busy are you? Have you watched Pachinko yet?" Was when Sunja is doing the wash and Hansu is there helping her, talking to her, like the very first time. I think it's before he starts helping her. He's just sitting there and he says, he asks like if she knows how to read and if she's ever like thought about moving and living somewhere else. And she was like, why would I want that? Like, this is the home of my mother and my father. And, you know, and it may not be a lot to you, but like, I do not know why that just hit me so freaking hard. And it was so beautiful. And I was like, yeah, I got to see if Julie wants to come on and talk about this with me, because I just felt completely unqualified to even dive into like what that must feel like. Like on a surface level, I got what she was saying, and I was, because first of all, he's a fuck boy. Can we just get that out of the way?
He is. I mean, I would have participated. No one blames.
Right, I get it. I
Oh my
understand.
God, gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really kind of hoping, because I haven't read the book, so I was kind of hoping that this story was going to take a different direction when we first meet him at the end of episode 1. But no, my instinct told me, it's like, oh, he seems like a fuckboy, and he is. But like, it was very insulting, so I got what she was saying. But then I thought about, if you are someone who, and if you don't mind, so your parents were born in Korea,
Yes.
and they immigrated to the United States when?
We did it in several stages. We like, I was first in America when I was an infant, but we settled down when I was around 6.
Mm. Julie, wait a second. So you were born in Korea? Why did I think you were
Yeah.
born here?
Yeah, I was born in Seoul.
Ah, okay. I did not know that. For some reason, I thought you were born here. So your parents, how often do they go back? Oh, no, I'm sorry. So what was the year? I'm sorry, I cut you off. I don't think I got the answer.
So if I was 6, or it's where I got around 83. Like,
Okay. Okay. So a little bit earlier than the time that we meet Solomon in this story. So a few years
but like, yeah,
before
like
that.
pretty contemporary. I mean, obviously Solomon, like, just chronologically is much older than me.
Right. Yeah.
But, yeah.
So when she says that, and she talks about like this land, because in particular he's talking about moving to Japan, right? And the life that he has there and how much better it would be for her or whatever. And she talks about the life that she started here, or that, her parents have built here. I was thinking about that, and I thought, see, now I'm going to start crying. See, because I don't have a feeling of connection to my country.
Yes,
To here.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't have that. And so one thing I'm always maybe a bit jealous of, a bit fascinated by, is when I talk to people who do have a connection to their country.
Mm-hmm.
What that sounds like and what that feels like. It's so beautiful to me. And special, but in a situation like this connection, it's particularly in this time that they're talking about, it's attached to so much pain, because at this time Korea is being occupied by Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so and again, there's no formal flow to this. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, like this scene, like what I wondered, people like your parents, like, do they feel that type of connection to Korea?
That's a great question, because it's like, it's nuanced, right? Like they were the generation that decided for, like they decided to leave,
Leave.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is this natural human tendency to justify the decisions you've made,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think depending on like when you ask them during their time as they acclimate being, an immigrant,
Mm-hmm.
like a new immigrant,
Mm-hmm.
all the way through to being naturalized in the um, country you emigrated to, like their answers might have changed quite a bit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
maybe right now as they get older and they have grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
um, and also just we can't deny the fact that Korea is just so much cooler right now than it
Yes.
was when we left. um, like just I've tried to kind of broach the topic of like, do you feel regret at
Mm.
all, or
Mm.
even like wistfulness?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they right now they'll just be like, no, 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 not at all. Like this was
Mm-hmm.
like totally the best decision. Um, they often say that they immigrated away because of me.
Mm.
Like they wanted to give me like opportunities and stuff, which
Right.
was like
Right.
thanks guys for like that like mental baggage or emotional baggage. When I was a baby. But like I get it, right? Like there were
Yeah. Yeah.
opportunities in like you know US as Migo great, beautiful country. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's this dream that like there is a certain status to attain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I can see it like in them and like also like the Korean American community growing up. There were missing pieces, like big missing pieces in
Mm-hmm.
people's like emotional ecosystem,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That people just kind of had to like tourniquet off.
That's so interesting you say that because I have often said loudly all kinds of ways and places, tweeted
Hmm.
about it, I've said it to my friends, that there is absolutely a connection I feel to blackness and black people. Black people I don't like, black people I don't get along with, but it doesn't matter. There's just like this underlying thing. And I know you've probably like heard the jokes and stuff like when when you're in and maybe it's something similar but for you, but like when you're in spaces and it like you're one of two black people
Oh yeah.
and you feel like that instant like this is maybe not a black person you would ever hang out with outside of whatever situation this is, but you automatically just kind of feel some sort of unspoken connection, like okay, this is my person in the room.
Hmm.
But like I wonder about that, like do you like feel that connection to other Korean Americans, like that whole there's things that other people don't understand about like the shorthand in the way you speak to each other in your language or the food or
Yeah.
just
Can I
you get
ask
what
you
I
a
mean?
question
Sure,
first?
sure.
Like, was there ever a time in your life, or is it kind of like situational, like where it wasn't like this like kinship that you feel, but like this kind of almost like there's a lot of pressure all of a sudden,
What do you
like
mean, like
when you find like the second black person in the room and you make eye contact. Was there ever a time when like there was almost a sense of dread?
no? Mm-mm.
No, that's
Mm-mm.
awesome. Yeah,
But you
for
know
me,
what? Like, I
yeah.
do, there's this interesting thing that someone, believe it or not, where I heard it, and I feel like I've been on the receiving end of it, but where I first heard it was a couple of weeks ago. It's this white girl who lives in Korea now,
Mhm.
and she has a YouTube channel because they all do. And and she was talking about like this really shitty work experience she had had when she first moved to Korea, and how this one employee, another white girl, just things that she did and ways that she treated her. And she said it felt like she resented that she was no longer the only white person. So she
Mm.
was no longer special in a company of Korean folks, like,
That's
Um,
so funny because my question's coming from a completely different direction,
right.
which
So when you
helps
said
right there.
that, I was just like, I was like, yeah, I have felt that. Like, I've absolutely felt like some vibes from another black person. Like, I messed it up by making them not special anymore. But no, I've always felt like there's just like I've been listening to a lot of John Batiste since the Grammys because I hadn't heard of him prior to Sunday. Yeah. And that song Freedom, there's a part, I think I just tweeted it with this part where he says, when I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but it feels like freedom. And it just like, I was like, yeah, that's how I feel about Blackness sometimes. When I hear us laugh or a look we give each other, or just like, you know, like T, our friend T, you know, she can say something and I'll just be like, listen. And I know she knows. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like everything that I want to say in that 2-syllable word, you know, like that. And it feels like home to me. So I was just curious if, you know, Korean Americans, Koreans, like if you feel that same thing, and then how does it make a difference if it's like Korean Americans, people who were either born and raised primarily in America, Koreans, or, you know, people who've been born and raised in Korea their whole life? Like, does it still feel that way? Like, because honestly, yeah. It's just, I see another Black person. It's like, hey, what's up? I'm happy you're here.
Yeah. I'm always happy, right? There's always a sense of relief. There's like security in numbers.
Yes, exactly.
But there is this like immediate kind of partner feeling of like anxiety. Because, you know, am I going to be Korean enough? Am I going to be too Korean? Like, where are they?
Yeah. Okay, I get that. Yes.
Are they going to embarrass me? Like, you know, because I'm like now guilty by association.
Yes.
Like, okay. Super anti-Black or something, you know. I'm like, fuck.
Oh, like, yes. Okay, yes. I know. Yes, I've felt that. Yes.
You know, yeah. So you kind of have to like and you do like little context clues, like you look at their shoes or
right. Like, yeah, I get it, because like, you know, we have a thing where it's like not all skin folk or kin folk. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you look and it's like, oh, am I going to go talk to her and she's going to be like a Stacey Dash, Candace Owens?
Like, you know, statistically like less likely, but it's never zero.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So but FYI, these are the types of things that I feel like we'll be talking about as we talk about this show. So I had started to say, like, just in case, you know, people listening at home, you don't know, again, the novel is called Pachinko. The author is Jin Lee, and the show is on Apple TV Plus. It stars Lee Min-ho as Hansu, character we're going to talk about in a bit, Jin Ha as Solomon. I'm gonna fuck up her name. Yojun. Yeah. She plays elderly Sunja. And then I'm going to bring up the rest of the cast as we get to their introductions within the story. And I should probably say Academy Award winning.
Yes.
Oh,
and I just looked it up. It's Yoon Yo-jung.
Okay. Yeah. So, and she won an Oscar last year. Was it last year?
Oh, goodness.
Like, the past few years have just, because of COVID, like, everything just, between 2020 and now, I'm just like, I don't know. I know, like, because Parasite won Best Picture the year before.
Correct.
And then last year, she won for Minari, correct?
Yep. Well,
supporting actress,
I think. It was in 2021, and it's like the 2020 Oscars.
Right. Okay. So, okay, well, let's dive into it. First, I just want to say, when this series began with the title cards just basically explaining, I took a screenshot of this and I posted it on Twitter, and I was like, colonized is honestly too nice of a word for what it is. Because, like, this whole thing, it was like, as part of their, I can't remember exactly, it was like, as part of their imperial efforts, Japan colonized Korea in 1910, and I'm like, y'all are making it seem like they just were visiting for a while.
Like they came up with like with a contract.
Yeah, right. Because it was, and I was doing some like digging into exactly like what the deal was, and you know how there's certain things like you can discuss comfortably. For instance, if you want to talk about my study of the Korean language, I can do that with you. We can talk about Korean grammar. I'm comfortable. not very comfortable discussing history because for whatever reasons, the names and dates don't want to, you know?
Oh my God, I'm the same.
I can't. Like, but when I'm learning it, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like if I'm taking a class and I'm like reading and then I'm tested at the end of the week on everything I read, I'm good. But then like 2 weeks later, I don't know. I don't remember.
Right.
But there was this, basically this, a treaty of some sort where Japan was like, Korea is now belonging to us.
Yes.
Annexed, right? And then they decided they were going to change, they were going to move in, change the name, change the flag, and, you know, did some horrible things as colonizers do when they're colonizing. Right. So this began in 1910. And then in 1915, we meet Sunja's mom, who visits a shaman. Is that correct? I think.
Yeah.
Yes. And so this was interesting because I was reading this other book called, oh my God, The Lost Girls, or Forest of Lost Girls. I'm drawing a blank. But
I haven't even heard of it.
It's so good. It's another Korean author, and it's set in... This isn't in... Is this also in Busan? No. It's on Jeju-do. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's set in the... Oh, God, what era is it? But it's like historical fiction as well.
Oh, excellent.
And so one of there's a girl, there's like a little town where these girls have gone missing, and this detective goes to the town to investigate, and then he never comes back. And his daughter goes to like find out what the hell happened to her dad. And in the story, I think her sister was left in the care of a shaman who was basically like raising her and teaching, because apparently she was saying, you know, the shaman said the daughter had a gift. And so she would be like her replacement. And so,
right.
So when I saw this scene with the woman sitting there and she's telling her this, and it was clear she was there when she said her blood was cursed, and there's a little girl sitting next to her, I was like, I wonder if this is like, you know, from the book where this is like her assistant, basically.
Yeah, seemed like it. For
yeah.
Sure.
So she talks about her blood being cursed because I think she said like her mother died in childbirth with her, or like her own mother died really young, and that she'd had she'd lost 3 babies prior, and so she's pregnant now, and she wanted this shaman's help in ensuring that this baby survives, because her husband is like, and he was like the kindest man in the world.
Oh God, I can't. Yeah.
Like
That just made me sob.
He was the best, and he was like. So when she's telling this story, right, she's like, so there's like this nearby village, and the family owns a boarding house. Their son has a cleft lip. And I'm like, okay, so probably nobody wants to marry him, and they're worried about, you know. I'm thinking, okay, I get it. I was expecting like a dog. Like some, you know, like, I was like, that little cleft lip, I could barely see that. What are we talking about? It's like that man was cute. And he got a job, and his family owns a business.
It could be worse.
Right?
Like, I certainly dated, yeah.
Right, I've dated a lot worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, she goes to her for help. And this is all, and so the woman performs this, like ceremony or this ritual. And while this is going on, we get kind of flashed to the future in 1989, New York, where we meet Solomon, who it turns out is the woman's great grandson, right?
Yes.
As he tries to, as he's told that he is once again not getting this promotion that it seems he's clearly earned.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know how white folks are. They're not just...
Of course, it's 89, like,
yes.
Oh my God.
Like, that was so, like, when he was, like, strolling through there, like, on his way to the meeting in the suit, I was like, okay, I see you. But I was waiting for the fuck shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For all the, like you just said, because it's 1989, and this is an Asian man. So I'm like, they are not, there's going to be some racism any minute now.
Can we spend a moment just talking about Jin Ha's gorgeous face?
Listen. Have you seen Devs?
I did see Devs.
I did not know that was him.
Me too. I had to look it up.
When I looked it up and they said he was in Devs, and I was like, wait a second.
Where?
I
Yeah.
was like, there was only one Asian dude in Devs. And he was smoking
He was
hot, and he
into
did
it.
not look like this. And even though he looks hot in this, he looks completely different hot in Devs.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both versions could get it, but
Right.
also this like, DKNY like on the up and up at Morgan Stanley or wherever the hell.
Yes.
Like, I
But-
would have him I would have a Coke soaked evening with this man.
I was just gonna say this is like oh God, what was the Christian Bale movie?
Oh yeah, American Psycho.
Yes. It's very much those vibes. 89, yes. But did you hear the thing about his Tumblr?
I did. I just did like maybe last night, and ooh,
I know.
oh,
God. I don't listen. Before COVID ruined everything, you know that I was going to go study at Yonsei University. And I made my tweets so fucking private when I was doing the application process, because I did not need them being like, so, do you remember saying white people season their chicken with oppression and racism? Like, I don't need those kind of problems. I don't understand why people who are in the industry, like show business, when you get that first job, delete all your shit. Like, why did he still have that Tumblr up?
I mean, what if he didn't remember? Like, this was just like this, again, maybe a Coke fueled like moment of inspiration. I don't know how long the blog went for.
Okay, so I should probably, in case you're listening at home, you're like, what the hell are they talking about? So apparently, Jin Ha, who plays Solomon, he had a Tumblr, and it was like, the title was something about like flowers in bloom or something.
Yeah, something abstract. Yeah.
And it was basically him posting photos, apparently photos he had taken, like secretly taken of, and I don't want to say like, I think this was in Korea, right? Because they're all, I think, Korean women.
They were definitely ajumas.
Yeah, older Korean women. And like photos, just, like women out and about, living their lives, minding their business. And he would take photos of them and then post them on this Tumblr with these like erotic, sexual captions, basically lusting after them.
Yes. And
so that was found recently, because the internet remembers everything, and if you don't delete it, but yeah, and so he apologized for it. And it's one of those things where it's gross. Like, the whole picture taking without people's permission is just gross and wrong anyway. And then you add the whole sexual element. I do understand that he was young and dumb, and I try to like extend a little grace with young and dumb things, especially if it seems like, oh, you did some stupid shit, to a degree. But yeah, that wasn't a good look for him. But yes,
it wasn't a good look for sure.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's like, for me, I'm just like, he's gonna have to live out like this embarrassing phase.
Mm-hmm.
It'll fade.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's, and like, again, it just seems like it's like a stupid thing that you do when you're young and stupid, and it seems like he's been pretty okay since then. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's no other scandal available for this guy. So, okay, so Sunja is born. And basically like thrives, right? Like, she's just spunky and smart. When one of our first introductions to her is haggling at the market for one of the boarders that stays in her parents' place. And I was so nervous when this began, like when you see her going into town with her dad and stuff. I was like, oh my God, please tell me the mom didn't die. Please tell me the mom didn't die. I was so happy she was still alive. And she's running the boarding house now. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Solomon's dad he travels to Japan because, I didn't finish this. Basically, he doesn't get this promotion, but he tells them, listen, there's a deal in Japan that we've been trying to close that we can't. And I guarantee you that I can do it. And when I do, I want my promotion. I want the backdated pay, and I want all this shit in writing. I was like, talk your shit, Solomon.
Yeah.
And so he says there's one landowner holding out selling their property to them so they can build these hotels. There's one landowner holding out, and it's a Korean woman. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I guarantee you I can get her to sell. And one of the other white guys is like, I'm sorry, I thought you were Japanese.
Yes.
And he says, no, I just grew up there. And I couldn't, I don't know about you, but when this happened, I was like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing. And I wasn't mad at it. But then when he met her, I got mad at it.
Yeah.
When he kept trying to get her to sell her house, I was like, leave her alone.
I mean, yeah, you know it's probably a little bit doomed. Yeah, just, I thought, yeah. He came on very charming, but a little bit like a snake. Right?
Yes,
he was
exactly.
coming in as a snake.
Yes, exactly. I think that's what it felt. To the point where, I know we're jumping ahead, but this is just kind of how it goes on this podcast. To the point where when he walked in and she took one look at him and she knew he was Korean and she laughed and she's like, oh, they must be getting desperate if they're sending. I cackled, so I laughed out loud. I had to rewind it because she was like, because as a black person, I'd be like, if they sent a black guy to walk in to get me this, I'd have been like, oh, they think they slick. So I love that she picked up on that. So he goes to Japan. And now what I didn't get until rewatching is that this wasn't just I'll go over there for a little while and try to schmooze her. He's transferred.
Yeah.
Because he says, when I close the deal, I want to be transferred back into that VP position, and I want it in writing. So, he has, uprooted to go do this. Okay.
It's an all-in bet. Yeah.
Yes. So, his dad now owns this Pachinko parlors. We haven't talked about this, but I don't know much about this other than Pachinko is basically almost kind of like a slot machine game.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a pinball machine, but vertical.
Yes. And Kaylee was telling me that gambling is illegal in Japan, but this isn't technically gambling because of something about she's shrugging now, but something about the odds of how the game is set up. I don't know.
They have to comply with a lot of I'm sure Las Vegas has to do the same thing, which is a calibration, right? Mm-hmm. And then also, I don't know if this is true anymore, but certainly back then, you don't win money. Oh gosh, I used to be married to a Japanese guy, and so he would tell me that your winnings were kind of etched into bars of soap, and then you would take the soap to a different shop, and then you can redeem
sell the soap.
That. Yeah, you could redeem it for prizes or money.
Yeah, because and by next week I will know. I'm gonna do my research on this. But yeah, we were trying to figure out how it works, and later we see when you talk about calibrating and stuff, the young kid who's servicing the machines for him, and apparently they do something where they're kind of tapping those little pegs.
Yeah.
Because to make sure that they're not, I guess, too far apart or aiding in people winning too much, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because in that scene, I distinctly remember saying to Kaylee, I was like, this kid does not look Asian at all. And she was like, yeah, I don't think he... And it was something about when he was speaking, I can't remember, was he speaking Japanese?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kaylee was like, yeah, she said, even to her ear, she could tell, it didn't seem like Japanese was his native language, this actor.
Yeah, he had an accent. Yeah, I couldn't quite figure it out. But then it it came and went in
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, he runs this Pachinko parlor now. And now, okay, this came to me because I first watched these episodes like a week ago, right? And I have these notes, and I put them on the first episode on a bit ago, just to kind of like refresh my memory as I was looking over my notes. And this occurred to me. So when Solomon is meeting his dad, and I think I don't remember his name, but I've seen this actor in so many things. I want to say he was in Lost, but I guess he's the man who used to own the Pachinko parlor, right? And he says, your dad owns it now. And then the dad kind of teases him and says, yeah, you just still come. He goes, I still have to come around though to make sure, he knows what he's doing. And then he goes, no, you come around to flirt with the young girls, right?
Yeah.
And that scene. So there's two things. One, I said to Kaylee, I know they're speaking Japanese, right? And that's the thing this show does. I think the Japanese subtitles are in English and blue, and then Korean is in yellow on the screen, right? So I was like, I know they're speaking Japanese, but there was something about the way they were speaking that reminded me of like that Busan, like when
Hatsuri?
when they're like basically like ribbing each other. Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the tone of it, I was like, I can totally, because then like later, like I didn't hear other people speaking Japanese in that way, if that makes sense. So I was like, I can totally tell that this is like guys doing that kind of like like that that they do. But the other thing, okay, so there is somebody on the news, right? Like a man who is being like investigated for something, right?
For embezzling or something.
Okay, and then later when he goes into the office, he sees the guy, right? The guy is a client. I
totally fucking missed that.
Okay. So, and I'm like, why do they keep showing this guy? Now I'm wondering, do you think he's connected to Hansu? Like whoever this is.
Yeah, I would.
Because wasn't he, like Hansu, that's what it was. Like he had a really, like he worked for this Japanese company that, like he was Korean, but like he was like really close with the Japanese. Like he seemed to be like I don't know about you, but I was thinking when we find out that he's married, his wife is Japanese, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if there's oh, you know what? I just remember you read the book, so there's probably stuff you can't say.
Yeah, I'm trying to be. No, I think they mentioned it.
I'm like asking you stuff. I'm like, do you think? And then it just hit me. She's probably sitting there like, girl, I can't tell you.
No, I mean, I honestly don't remember, but like, it would make sense because like, he obviously, whatever his like business card says, he's obviously also like muscle for the Yakuza.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just felt like, and then I could not figure out like what the significance of this, like kind of just like in the background always, like, and then I remember, and then once we got more of the story, knowing that she eventually has his baby, but with, but she marries someone else, that I'm like, I wonder if the, like the path like his family took is going, like if we're going to see that, like if we're not just done with him. So anyway, okay, I'm sorry.
Well, certainly symbolically, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's all like, Pachinko is gambling and it's considered low class, but these business deals are just as risky, if not risky, but they're considered high class. Like it's all like, that's the point, I think. Yeah.
So when we meet Sunja, like, and when I say present day, clearly I know it's not 1989 now, but in present day within the story, then Sunja is his grandmother, is Solomon's grandmother. Did you catch when she I think she was in the kitchen, she was going to cook or something, and she called him like a lazy American?
Yes.
And then wait, so this I thought was maybe a little less obvious, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. When he burned the pancake and he was going to throw it away, and she was like, what are you doing? That just kind of felt like, you wasteful American.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, that pancake is still good. We just going to scrape off this.
That is like, let me just say that is like Korean mom, like so typical, where like she made a huge deal, like that it was burned. Like, so of course he was like, oh, well, I guess it's garbage. Right, like, what are you doing?
Right.
It's like that typical, like, oh my God, you're so fat. Hey, why didn't you finish your food? Like, just pick one,
She was like, I said it was burned. I didn't say it was garbage.
Yeah. Did I not look it up then? Whatever.
In the past, though, Sunja's mom thinks that Appa is too doting. He's too easy on her. And I just kind of feel like she remembers this, like, after he passes, where he talks about the promise that he made. And when she talks about that promise later in the restaurant with her new husband to be.
He's hot. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, I get it. Like, he seemed to have this attitude of, like, I don't know, kind of like how I feel about my kids, where it's like, who else is going to spoil them and take care of them and treat them right? And, like, if not me, like, there's the rest of, there is a world of disappointment out there waiting for them, and people who are going to be all too willing to tell them no for a variety of reasons. So I don't want to be one of those people, like, I don't know. I just felt like, but I got it because, again, they're still occupied. This is 9 years later, I think. But
yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, but they're still, occupied. And we see through the border who gets drunk and starts shit talking Japan.
Oh, God.
That it's like some dangerous times, that it's not just, So I get the mother's concerns, but I also like the way the father treats her. So we want to talk about the drunk.
Yeah, like the real MVP?
Yes.
Yes.
So listen.
The fisherman.
Yes, the fisherman. Yeah. So listen. Like, he was talking his shit.
Talking real shit. Yeah.
I was like, look, who snitched though?
Oh, gosh.
Right? Because, like, somebody had to snitch.
Yep.
Because, I mean, the mother, like, when she pulled the dad aside, she was like, look, people talk and we should, like, and then, like, if somebody hears that he was talking like that, we can get in trouble because they're going to be like, why didn't you snitch?
Yep.
So I got that. But at the same time, I was like, it is literally you. It's like your husband and like 4 other boarders, and they're having dinner and they're just talking like, who's going to snitch? And damn if somebody ain't snitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't tell like how isolated their inn was compared to the village. But I'm gonna guess that like it wasn't just like a random bystander. It was somebody probably like who was just like, I need to report it or else I will also get killed.
Exactly. And so that is the, like, I don't know about you, but as I'm like watching this, like when he was going on, I was like, yeah, talk your shit. He's making points. Points are being made. But
no light detected. Like no one's ever said, like no one said like, oh.
Right. Nobody told him to shut up. Nobody disagreed. But then, like you said, I also understood the fear of living under this type of, like, that's what they want, right? Like, that's what they wanted. This is how they want you to live and to be afraid and to kind of turn on each other and be scared of each other and stuff like that. Like, that's part of how this works.
Mm-hmm. That's you wait until the people assimilate themselves. Yeah. Exactly.
And so, they eventually, Sunja goes to him like the next day and she's like, look, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here.
I love that little girl so much.
She was like, people is talking, you was loud and shit. And she's like, look, I agree with you, but you got to go.
And I love how she turned on and off the cute girl.
Yes.
Act. Like, she was just like, let me level with you.
Yeah.
Also, I'd be so sad if my daddy went to jail.
Right. I was like, she is not wrong.
Yes.
And then he leaves. He disappears. And it's so clear that, like, apparently, like, he just dipped. Like, he never came back for his belongings and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when the, I don't know who, are they cops? The Japanese cops came and they're like looking for him. There was the one guy who, see, this is hard for me because, I watch things that are like set during like the civil rights era or set during slavery. And you watch these depictions of these things that really happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe not this particular thing, but this really happened, if that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to watch them take such joy in it. And this was like several times throughout these episodes where it would be like their food stinks. Their language feels dirty in my mouth. Like the way that they spoke about Korean people and Korean culture was so... you know, like, again, the only thing I have to... I was like, this is like when you watch, for me, watching these things set during the civil rights movements and the way they're being treated and spoken to. And then that kind of... that fear, you know, like you have to... They had to sit there and like, yes, sir, him, basically.
Oh, absolutely. And like, make no mistake about it. Like that, those kinds of stereotypes still exist. Like I saw it in Japan when I went there.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Yeah. There was,
I mean, I'm not surprised because people, but still.
Yeah. Because people stay people.
Yes. Exactly.
But it was always like, yeah, like you can smell a Korean before you see him. Like that's a very common thing. And I'm just like, just because our food tastes good and y'all are salty about it.
But, okay, so you know, people listening, you guys know already, and Julie's my friend, so she knows this as well, obviously, that I had all of these, like, planned trips to Korea. And when I say planned, I think people think that I was just like, I'm going to go to Korea. Like, no.
Oh, no.
I had a plane ticket. I had several plane tickets. I had rented apartments.
You had itineraries.
Yes, I had deposits paid down on things. So, yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, people were like, make sure you bring a lot of deodorant. And I was like, what are you trying to say? And they're like, no. Because, like, it may be hard to find deodorant in Korea. And I was like, why? Now, I get a lot of people were telling me, because I was going to stay for like 2 months, right? Now I'm planning to go in the spring. I was going to go in October, but the COVID numbers are still bad, and I'm not trying to tax somebody's system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be another problem. So I'm looking at next spring. But I was going to go before for like 2 months because that's when the program was for classes, right? And then when I wasn't going to do that, I was still just wanted 2 months because it's fucking Korea, okay? It's like, it's a long flight. I'm going to go. And I want to go as many places as I can. But I was like, they were like, if you need clothes, you need to pack everything you're going to need because you're probably not going to be able to shop for clothes there. And I was like, okay, I get that. And I've heard from a lot of people who live there, particularly Black women who live there teaching, that it's hard for them to, of a certain size, I should say, right?
Oh, yeah. I outgrew Korean sizes.
You outgrew Korean sizes?
I did. I mean, I asked my mom straight up, I'm like, what do people like me, like, do we just not wear shoes?
I was just going to say, like, because you would think that if, you know, people are telling me this, and I'm like, wait, are you trying to tell me there are no women in Korea who are over 200 pounds and 5'11"? I'm like, what are they wearing? Like,
yeah, and they will tell you, like, they'll look you in the face and say, no, those kind of women do not exist. And yet I know they do.
Of course they do. I'm like, they gotta be. I'm gonna go shop where they shop then, all right? But then the deodorant thing, I was like, what the hell are y'all talking about? And I was like, you're trying to tell me that like I'm gonna go into a pharmacy and not be able to find deodorant? And I did my research, and I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure they sell deodorant in Korea. But apparently, I read that there is a gene that Korean people either have or don't have.
Right.
That makes it so that you don't sweat the same way, or that your sweat doesn't smell like body odor.
Yeah. So before I learned it was genetic, like that was like a thing. Like, you know, my parents would tell me about, and I'm like, that's such bullshit. But
and it feels like something I shouldn't say. So anytime I start to like talk about this, I feel like, am I peddling fucking stereotypes? Like, but I actually did my research. It's like a scientific thing. Yeah.
It's a thing. And then they traced it down. Like they traced the allele or whatever. Yeah. And I think I have it, but like every, you know, everything has its limits.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
And I've definitely like pushed it.
Yeah. And Julie's like, I've tested it. I know where the line is. Okay. I know how many days I can go. You leave me alone.
But yeah, I think I have it because I don't wear deodorant, and also like I don't have a ton of armpit hair for some reason.
Ah. See, I didn't until COVID.
Interesting.
Yeah, like, oh man, like honestly, I let a lot of things go and was like, this is just the way I'm gonna live, like including like not dyeing my hair anymore.
Right,
Honey,
right.
I tried it and then I caved a couple of weeks ago. I dyed my hair. I was like, I couldn't. But yeah, but I have not shaved my legs. My legs and my armpits are gloriously hairy, and I'm like, I love it.
I mean, I love underarm hair in women. Like I don't know what happened, like who kicked off the trend.
Right,
but
right, right.
I'm angry. I think it's super hot.
Listen, there's a woman I follow on Twitter, and she's ridiculously hot, and she had posted. She lives in the UK, so she had posted about, you know, like to the teenagers. It was like teenage girls, and she said she was on the train, like going to work, and she doesn't shave her armpits, and so she was like holding on to the, you know, she had, you know, the rail, the thing. The hand thingy, so you don't fall on the train.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And so she had her arm up, and the teenage girl sitting nearby saw her arm hair, started giggling, and like, you know. And I was just like, girls, we got to be better. Mm-hmm. We have got to be better. And I get it, they're young. See, this is the kind of stuff I mean. Like, I understand, like, you're young and dumb and you don't know. I'm like, would I have been that dumb asshole as a teenager in the train? God, I hope not. But yeah, when she said that, I was like, you just got like 20 times hotter. But anyway, so they eventually catch the fisherman, right? And then when they bring him in, this was another moment I cried. When he sees Sunja watching him and he starts singing, even as they're beating him.
Yes.
I don't know what he was singing. I need to look it up. I couldn't tell if he was singing the song that they were singing when they were drunk.
They were. He was. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a song of significance that I should
I'm gonna
know?
assume yes. Like I did not. It sounded to me like a working song, like that rhythm to it.
Yes.
But also, it sounded very revolutionary.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It did. Which yeah, it did. So then in the present day, we kind of. And I guess that this is some stuff that you wouldn't be able to tell me, confirm or deny. But Solomon talks to his aunt. Come on, Nico. I'm sorry, my dog's breathing into the mic. Etsuko, I think her name is. His aunt.
Etsuko, yeah.
Etsuko. And her daughter, apparently, which it seems like, you know, he kind of grew up with her. And she's... Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. My dog is literally standing on my computer. Will you move? Okay. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. So don't say hi to him. He doesn't deserve it. So apparently it seems like Solomon and this girl Hannah kind of grew up together, so they seem close, more like siblings than cousins. And apparently she's missing. Like she left home. And you know, her mom is like, I know she's still alive, because you know that thing, like I would feel it if something happened to her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. That's all we got in this moment. Just that she's been missing, or left home and hasn't contacted them, and they're worried about her.
And they hired a PI, right?
Yeah, at some point later, I was kind of like scrolling through my notes. I'll say it now, and then if we get to it in my notes, and then I just won't repeat it. But yeah, they had hired like this PI, and did you get like when he was telling like what he found, like to the mom, he was like kind of sugarcoating it a little bit, like don't get your hopes up, but like not telling her the deal. But then when he was talking to the brother, Sunja's son, he said a little bit more, right? Like
yes, that they had a last known address, and it was like, I think it was like insinuating that it was some sort of like
sex work.
Yeah,
that's what I thought too. Okay. So when Sunja's dad dies, which did he have to die while they were like right there in the room? Like,
I know what tuberculosis. Yeah, it's rough.
I mean, he was there and breathing 1 second and then the next, and then he died, and I was just like, these poor women. I just, this was so sad.
Break.
And then, oh no, I'm so sorry. It wasn't that big of a time jump. I'm not sure how old she was from, like, what the time period was from. God, give me a minute. So in 1915, she was pregnant with Sunja. And then when we meet Sunja again, and she's like haggling in the fish market and stuff, how old would you say she was?
I would say like 8 or 9. Yeah.
8 or 9. Okay. So then that would put us at about 1923 or so. And then 9 years later. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. So no, it's 1924. Right?
Okay. Well, it was when Emperor Hirohito died, right? Oh no! Wait, no. Sorry, that was 89.
That's 89. Yeah, I had to look his ass up.
They tried to give you timing based on the news.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So 1915, and then if she was like 8 or 9 in 1923, so then 1934 or so is when she meets Hansu.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like well before, right, World War II.
Yes. Yeah.
But he was like kind of reading the signs and seeing like Japan's not going to lose this, basic. Right. Yeah. At the time.
Okay. So, and then in episode 2, he's a bit of a dick. Hansu. That's what I have in my notes. Hansu is a bit of a dick, and he works for Japan. Yeah. So
he's a bully. Yeah.
He's a bully. Yes. And so that informed where the relationship was going to go. So by the end of episode 1, I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those, he has money and he's like connected to the Japanese and she's just like this village girl who, helps her parents and I'm like, it's going to be this, forbidden love, but they're going to really love each other. No, he's just a fuckboy.
Yeah.
By
the way,
yeah.
Like, it's not like, I won't marry you. It's like, I can't.
Yes, because that's the thing. I know we're jumping ahead, but like he made it seem like, and because I tried, like again, I was like, well, maybe he does love her and this is just like, he can't, no. When he made it seem like she knew all along, right?
Oh yeah,
he was like, you know what this is. How the fuck did she know what it was? She didn't even know you were married.
Like, she can't even read. She doesn't even read romance novels.
Right. She doesn't know fuckboys like we know fuckboys.
Yeah, she lives in a friggin' inn. Like,
Come
she lives the
on.
most wholesome life.
Oh, when he tried to turn that around. And then he brought up her dad's ailments.
Oh.
And like how his kids could... I was like... And when she said that, when she was like, you will not bring my father into this, like... I was like, yeah, that's the worst thing he could have said. And he like got in her face, and I thought for a second, he better not hit her. Like, he's the worst. Anyway, I know we just told his whole story. He's a shitbag. Anyway,
he's a shitbag, but my God, does he fill a suit?
Yeah. I mean, he looks good. Although her new husband,
yeah, my husband's going to laugh his ass off. When he came on screen, I was just like, who is that?
Yes. And to the point where I actually, like, I think I looked him up, and I haven't seen him in anything else, but I thought I'd seen him in something else. Like, his face, like, I don't know. I think he might also just have, like, an idol face, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, but I've never seen that nose on a Korean man. And
really? Now I got to go back and look at his nose.
More Korean men should have that nose. Or more Koreans in general should have that nose. It's beautiful nose.
Really? Now, okay, this is so interesting to me because I'm totally going to go back and look and see because I honestly, and this is going to sound, oh God, it's going to sound terrible. And I really hope it doesn't sound terrible because I don't mean it that way. Because honestly, I just did not look at people this way. Like, I never, like, you would hear people say things about, like, Barbara Streisand's nose. I would hear people talk about Jewish people's noses all the time, and I never got it. I was just like, I don't know. I just assumed that was just people being terrible people, right?
Right.
So I would never be able to look at somebody and say, oh, they look this, if that makes sense. But when I got into BTS and I was looking at their pictures, and then of course there's all the rumors about plastic surgery and how prevalent it is in South Korea, and not just particularly K-pop idols, but people in entertainment industry in general having work done on their faces and stuff, right? So I thought, wow, do they all get like the same type? Is it like a style of nose job? You know what I mean? Like how girls have like a style of hair. Like I want the Jennifer and the Rachel or something. So it's like, is it like a nose? No. I think it is just like you see it particularly V from BTS, like the bridge part.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like wide, and he says, like, he goes, oh, I have a big nose. Like I thought, just me, I thought that there's like a very distinctive Korean nose that to me, it looks big, but I like big noses. So now I want to go see this guy's nose, because maybe you're talking about the nose that I like.
I mean, I think his nose is different from V's nose. Like, there's like a hook to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's fucking hot.
Okay.
I'm so sorry to this actor. Like, I really respect you as a human.
But I'm just going to objectify you for a second. Your nose
just
is
really
for
hot.
A second. No, but yeah. And I will say, like, when we first meet him, because he's ill, right? And he spends the first few scenes in bed, sick. I was just like, this kind of guy looks familiar. Like, but I wasn't. But yeah, when he sat up and was talking, I was like, wow. It's like, girl, this actually worked out well for you, girl.
I'm like, tuberculosis never looked so hot.
The only downside, though, is the religious aspect. I'm an atheist, so this doesn't fly with me. I was like, oh man, he's gonna make her become religious. But I knew that, right? Because she seems pretty religious in present day.
Right. Well, it's funny how she's like all fastidious about going through the motions.
Yeah, well, at least that part of it. Yes. And then like Solomon, that's a biblical name. What's the dad's name? Solomon's dad.
Her dad's?
Sunja's son.
So there's Moses is the so Solomon's dad is Moses.
Oh, really? I did not see. Yeah. Okay.
And
And so what is the new husband's name? The preacher.
Oh, the preacher, Isaac. So Isaac. Yeah.
That's right. Because I remember when I saw that, I was like, oh, it's like Isaac. I did. Okay. And I thought that and forgot it. Okay. Yeah. So when he came on the scene and they found the letter that he was going to send to his parents, like, I arrived in Busan, and, I was like, and then he mentioned the name Kyunghee, and I'm like, oh, okay. I see where this is going.
Yeah.
And this is where kind of religion, I think, really enters her life, because I really feel like it wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Or at least they didn't really show it to us. Okay. So the Jimmy Simpson character, the white guy.
Yeah. I mean, I know what he's like one of my favorite character actors. I love him.
I love him too. I loved him in Westworld.
Yes.
Before Westworld, I didn't know his name. I would just be like, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a little intimidated by Solomon in the beginning, right? And Solomon assures him, like, I'm not here for your job.
Right.
But then it made me wonder, but what if this guy is trying to get transferred back to a VP spot? Like, but no, it feels like he's like, yeah, here, I'm not here to take your job. And is he dating that girl?
It was like kind of insinuated, right?
Right.
Like he touched her at the wedding or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. And his backstory is a little sad, right? Where he basically just talks about he worked so hard that he lost his family, I guess.
Yeah, but he did not like feel anything.
Yeah.
Like when he was telling us, I was just like, wow, like that is like some, what is it, collateral damage?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He lost his kids, and she's like, I made some choices or whatever.
Right.
Damn.
Sunja cares for her sister-in-law in the present day, and this is Kyunghee.
Yeah, this is Kyunghee. Uh-huh.
She mentioned who Isaac mentions in the letter, right?
Yes.
That he's like expecting to like go and live with her. So later, when Kyunghee dies, she says like, I don't know what we would have done in those early days, like without her. Mm-hmm. So like all of this, like I'm hearing, I'm like, okay, yeah, she's absolutely going to end up with the guy with tuberculosis. That is, yeah. And this is how she knows Kyung-hee in present, when she cares for her. So she cares for her sister-in-law. Later, back in the past, Han-soo saves Sunja as she's being attacked by these boys. So it is mentioned at one point, I think when that fisherman was talking his shit, and he was not wrong, by the way, that the Korean women were no longer allowed to wear white.
Yes.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah,
I did not know this.
In general, so that surprised me, and I looked it up because, like, I was raised, you don't wear white because it's, it's associated with death, but we got that from the Japanese.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that part, like the first part, that was just a thing now, is this considered, tradition feels like a weightier word, if that makes sense, as opposed to like a superstition. Like, you know how we have like, don't wear white after Labor Day? That's not really the tradition, right? That's just some silly little thing that rule we came up with. So, but this whole belief that white is associated with death, is this like a traditional cultural thing that Koreans believe? Like, like an older generation?
Japanese people are like super like strict about it.
I mean, obviously, right? Because Korean people wear white. But this is something that was, you said, introduced by the Japanese.
Yeah, because the hanboks that you see Sonja wearing and her mom, like, I don't know if you noticed, but like they're made out of linen and jute, right? And so obviously if you leave those undyed, and then the way they wash and like lay it out in the sun too, will bleach it out, like, like that's like kind of a normal default.
Right, got it.
Yeah, thing. And then Japanese took over and they're like, whoa, like y'all are walking around like you're either like ghosts or like mourning, Yeah.
So she Sunja's mom warns her about that. Like, she tells her, be careful, because I think that there was like another girl, like there was like a rumor or a report that she'd been attacked or something like that. And so she warns her. So I'm like, oh great, something's gonna happen because they set this up. And sure enough, these boys start attacking her and they're gonna rape her. And one boy runs off. He's like, oh hey, harassment is fine. I draw the line at rape. So he runs for help, and apparently Han-soo is who saves her, right? We talked about this already, right? Solomon going to meet this woman. So that's it, right? Like, that was his thought. My in is going to be that we're both Korean.
Yes. And
I can talk her into, I'm just going to bring this expensive melon.
the cubic watermelon. Yeah.
Yes. And she told him to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so when Sunja is making, she's trying to get Kyung-hee to take this medicine. And she eventually, at one point, we see her crushing it to put into cookies, right? And so she's eating the cookies, watching TV, laughing, just eating the cookies just fine. And you can see Sunja so proud of herself.
Yes! That was so well acted. It was so cute.
Yes. She thought she got away with it. And then when she was leaving, Kyung-hee was like, them cookies tasted different.
They were just a little bitter.
So I felt like when she said that the cookies tasted different, I felt like I definitely heard mat, like the flavor, right, the taste. And I thought I heard 다른, like different, right? Somewhere. I don't know like the structure of the sentence. But then I thought she said 좀 써? Like a little bitter. Is that what she said? 좀
써.
써. Yeah. So I was so proud of myself. I was like, yeah, she did. She told us a little bitter. Because 쓰다 means to be bitter, but it can also mean to write or to use. And we use it for like wearing glasses, right?
Yeah.
안경,
안경써.
안경써. Yeah. So listen, do you want to hear the sentence I had to study today really quickly?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. So in English, it is something like, I'm planning to get glasses after getting my eyes examined at the newly opened ophthalmologist. Would you like to go?
Jesus.
Would you like to go with me? Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Let's see if I can. I'm doing this from memory. Hold on a second. 새로 생긴 안과에서 시력 검사를 검사를 받은 다음에 안경을 맞추려고 하는데 같이 갈래? 같이 갈래?
Damn.
Yeah, so that was our project this week. So like on Tuesdays, we go through conjugating all those verbs, right?
Jeez.
And then we talk about extension, like how do we link those sentences together, like using 우려고 하다, using 다음에, like that. So the connectors, right? Yeah. So the way I teach it is your verb at the end of your sentence is like the star, and that's the one that gets conjugated in the normal ways. But then all the other verbs need things done to them, like little connectors to make your big long sentences. So that is my, that's what I do several days a week studying Korean. And I'm still too nervous. And I'm still not, like, my listening comprehension is shit, Julie. Like, if you started talking right now, I would not know. Even if I know, I won't know that I know, because I'm not really good with hearing it yet. So when I'm watching stuff like this and they say something and I understand it, like if I'm like not looking at the screen and I hear it and I'm like, I think they just said this, I rewind it and read the captions. And if I'm right, I just like almost cry with happiness.
Yeah. Especially because like they, you know, they have such a hardcore country accent and it's like a little bit dated, right?
Yeah, I heard that the accent, the way Korean is spoken on Jeju Island is so different that there can be like people born and raised in Seoul going to Jeju and having a hard time understanding.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because it's more like it becomes like, you know how like Pidgin is like another language, right?
Yeah.
It's not quite like that, but
I get it.
Like they have different vocabulary.
How it could, how that comes about. Okay, so we talked about this. He helps her with the laundry. He helps her picking mushrooms.
Oh, can we just like commemorate like how he's just like, I was poor once, and like, I don't know about you, but like that has worked on me before. Of just like, I'm totally like, I can totally relate to you because
I've had this.
Yeah, and like, but then it turns out that like he was so upwardly mobile or whatever, like he didn't carry any of the values, he just used it as like an in.
Exactly.
It's very effective.
It feels like, and it feels like he was, I'm curious to see like how this plays out throughout the course of the series, but it felt like he was separating himself from his Koreanness. Which is, like, and it kind of reminds me of, like, how can I say this? I don't know these are not nice things we're talking about in a way. They're like kind of painful identity things that are very hard to talk about sometimes. But like when I felt from him what I feel like with white people who have a proximity, black people who have a proximity to whiteness, whether that be like professionally, you know, having this access where the closer they get to whiteness, like they get further from blackness, and purposefully, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, Asian Americans, you know, they're often lumped, but also, you know, a lot of people choose to want to be lumped as white adjacent, right?
Yeah. Whiteness got us all fucked up. Listen,
I mean, like everyone wants to be on the winning team.
And in this case, like what is seen as the winning team.
Yeah,
Like this
exactly.
doesn't, right? Like we're in no way saying like whiteness is winning or
No.
right. It's very purposely strategically positioned itself to be seen as the winning team and the sign of all that is good and right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And Japan back then was definitely like they were like, America at its height or whatever, like
yeah.
the
Okay. So
Asian
let's.
Empire.
I kind of like skimmed over that a little bit because, and I'm so glad you said. So I just have here dead emperor, because I had to like do my Googles before we started recording, but the emperor that dies during
Hmm.
this time in the late 80s.
Yeah, Hirohito. Yeah.
Hirohito. So yeah, I was like
Hirohito.
like this interesting stuff. Like I guess like when they are emperor, like they're not referred to by, they're just called the emperor, and then their name, he's referred to as Showa, and the name is the era coinciding with his reign.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And so prior to him, it was the Taisho era, and I only know that from Demon Slayer anime. It takes place during the Taisho era, so at the end when they do like these little tidbits, he always calls it the Taisho era secret.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So okay, so this was Emperor Showa, but his given name or personal name, like you said, Hirohito.
Hmm.
And I was doing some reading on him. So he was the ruler during Japan's occupation of Korea.
Oh yeah, all of it.
All of it. He was
Yeah.
the ruler during a lot of Japan's stuff. Let's
Yeah.
just say.
Yeah.
And what I thought was super interesting, considering just what I know of things that happened in Korea, that he was not tried for war crimes,
Correct.
and that there is a lot of debate, a lot of papers and theses written around whether or not how instrumental he was, like what role he played in World War II and making some of these decisions to do these horrific things that are often done during war. And apparently, there's some people that say he was just basically a figurehead. There's some that says no, according to his own notes and people in the room with decisions that were made, he was all in in doing this stuff. But either way, he was never tried for war crimes.
Yeah, and he never apologized or whatever emperors do, like acknowledge. I don't know.
Yeah. So he dies during this time when Solomon is in Japan. And this was interesting because it felt like it was weird watching. I'm trying to remember distinctly someone. Was it the father? Was it Moses? I felt like there was watching someone's reaction to it, and I was surprised that they seemed sad.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it has to be like a complicated thing, I guess, in terms of not this part, like feel. I mean, to me, it's not complicated. I wouldn't have felt sadness, but just in terms of like what you relate to. For instance, in the beginning when he says, "I'm confused. I thought you were Japanese," and he goes, "No, I just grew up there." Like these, I'm curious to see if they get into, particularly like with Moses's upbringing. Did he feel Korean? Did he feel Japanese? Like, I don't feel like I've heard the character of Moses speak Korean. Have we? Because they speak Japanese even at home.
Yeah, I think he did. He definitely understands it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I think he did a couple times, but I'm pretty sure they'll like unwrap that a little.
A little bit more. Yeah. Okay, so, okay. Oh, see, you can't answer this. Okay, so this is one of those times where I'm just going to say something, and I know Julie can't confirm or deny, but people listening at home, let me know what you think. Is Hannah dead? Because when Solomon when she calls his office, I'm like, how does she know his office number? Because this isn't like back with the internet and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, now I don't question that shit. And when I'm watching TV, if somebody just calls a random person, it's never like, how'd you get this number? We live in the internet age. But like, this is 89, and she just like called, and then at one point, the girl, I forget her name, she's standing, like, she was in the doorway, and then she left or something, and Hannah says to Solomon about the girl next to you. So it implied that she could see him.
Yeah.
Which I don't think she could. But I'm like, if this is in his head, then he's supplying her end of the conversation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, like, would they show the girl listening? And, like, the one part where she wouldn't say, like, she starts coughing because she's sick. And then, like, just hangs up. And he's, like, yelling her name. Like, I wondered if we're going to find out, like, if the girl's going to be like, we haven't had your phone turned on yet. It's like, the guy is coming out next week to turn. We're so sorry about that. Like, we're going to find out, like, the phone doesn't even work in his office.
Oh my God. I can't say shit.
I know you can't say anything. It just feels weird. And I hope she's not. Obviously, like, that's terrible. But, like, I'm just like, why is she just calling him now when he's having, like, this, what I assume is about, like, you know, he's going to go through some shit with his own identity, I'm assuming.
Right.
Like, it feels like this is going to be bringing up this visit and what he's there to do. I just assumed was going to bring up some stuff, and I don't know. So I was just kind of thinking this might be in his head. I hate how hot the sex was between them in the woods because he's a fuckboy. So
it was really hot.
Yeah, but still, he's a fuckboy, Julie.
You know, like, I can't say I'm fuckboy immune.
Right, I was going to say, we've all been there. We've all been there.
Yeah.
So when she discovers that she's pregnant, though, I don't know about you, but the scene where she's like, because it was clearly, like, so obvious to everybody else, right? Like, the viewers, right? That this is, but it was surprising to me that it didn't seem to dawn on her until, like, she's, like, sitting on the floor doing something, and her mother's standing in the doorway, and she says something to her. And then she, like, walks away. I think she says, like, you didn't get your monthly.
Yeah, I think, like, her mom basically told her, like, bitch, you're pregnant. I have no idea how.
Right. She just said that, like, you haven't, and she walked out. And then you see the light bulb go off. There was, like, a moment, Julie, I expected her mother to step back into the frame because it, like, also dawned on her.
like, hold on.
Wait a minute. Are we both doing the same math here? Are you pregnant? So when he was gone for so long, like, people were like, where is Hansu? Like, he's not coming back. Like, he went to Japan and he didn't come back for a while. I was like, oh, he's totally married, right? Like, all right, really quickly, we got to talk about the urn placement scene.
Oh, yeah.
After Kyung-hee dies, she places her urn on the, Sunja places it on the, like, the shelf, like, in the living room, right?
Bookshelf.
Yeah. And so there's two things with this scene. One, I remember I said this on a podcast once, and John was like, man, if it had been anybody else, that would have been a really dangerous sentence. But I started it with, let me tell you something about Koreans. But what I was going to say was just like they know how to, like, season their food or something like that. But like, in retrospect, I was like, yeah, I should probably be careful when I'm starting sentences like that. But one thing I've noticed is when you guys are, like, if Kaylee said, how does this look? Like, if she set something on the desk, like, how does this vase look? I would say, I don't know, I think that's a little too tacky or something like that, right? Like, I would just say that. But Koreans would say, don't you think it's a little too...
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think? Like, they always put it back on you. Like, it's like, well, no, I wasn't thinking it was tacky till you said that. But I noticed that very early on, because it'll always be, like, in a sense of disagreement, right? How does this look here? Instead of just saying, I don't think it looks good, it'd be like, don't you think it's a little too crowded?
Oh, yeah.
So that's what she does when he says, maybe we should sit it over here on the piano. She goes, isn't that a bit too obvious? But then when the preacher came over,
Oh, yeah.
and he's like, do you mind? Like, he just picks up the urn, which is such a personal thing to do, I thought.
Yes.
Like,
very intimate.
Yeah, like, you don't just get to go pick up somebody's ashes. Come on now. And he moves it over to the piano, and she goes, oh, that's perfect. The way Solomon looked at his grandmother.
Right, that look, it's so well done.
Yes.
But like that kind of like clenching of the jaw
Yes.
and like that glare.
Yes.
Oh.
And this is one of those things that like that, there's been a couple of things that I think, since I've been learning the language, learning about the culture, or I should say different parts of Korean culture, that I'm always tickled when I find things that I can relate to, like as a Black person, where I'm like, oh yeah, we do that too. Like, even if sometimes it's just different sounds we make, or the way we laugh at things, or I don't know, just little things that like little common things that, that you spot and you just feel, kind of connected.
Yeah, I definitely feel a lot of resonance like between Black culture and like Korean culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that like, do y'all get like when growing up like get like compared to each other all the time, like to
Yes.
another little kid, like
Yes.
the best of other kids combined
Yes.
is like the standard that you get compared to?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the worst.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Solomon decides to bring Sunja, his grandmother, to meet the woman who won't sell the house, whose name I have to go write down for next week because I did not do it this time. The actress, though, I love her. She is so freaking beautiful. I love this woman. And I was so, like, you could ask Kaylee. We've been watching, like, a lot of K-dramas and stuff. And so we'll watch something and I'll be like, oh, is that so-and-so from the other show we watched? And then I'm always like, am I being racist or is that the person? Please tell me that's the person, right? So it's like to the point where sometimes I'll be like hesitant to, like, I go to IMDb first because I'm like, you're not going to have me out here being racist. But I looked at her and I was like, I know that I've seen this woman. I know exactly where I've seen those eyes and that smile. When she smiles, you know how some people have an eye smile?
Yes.
Like when they smile, like their eye smile too. Oh, she was Sungwoo's mom in Squid Game.
Oh, yeah.
She has those pretty eyes, man. When she smiles, I was like, that's Sungwoo's mom. And I kind of didn't get it. Like when he first came to her, she was like gardening or something, right? She had a hat on.
Yeah.
It was kind of low. But yeah, when they go inside and they're sitting at the table and she smiles, I was like, oh my God, that's Sungwoo's mom. I love her. I feel so bad. She deserved better. But anyway.
She did.
So this was so interesting to me because we learned that she's currently going to school with
That
kids.
was so cute. Yes.
So I don't know if I've ever told this story on any of the podcasts, but really quickly, when it was 2019 and I had just gone to my first BTS concert with my daughter, and we went Saturday, Sunday night, we went to California. We live in Oregon, so it was a trip for us. On Monday, we're in our hotel room. We were flying back on Tuesday. I like to have like I don't know about you when I travel. I like a decompressed day, both where I am and at home. I know it's crazy. But anyway, so Monday, it was just hang out in the hotel room, right? Order room service, relax. Get your hearing back from the concert. And I was like depressed though, right? Because I'd had like this really great experience for 2 days. And like, when you're like looking forward to something and then it happens, there's like that coming down period of like, what next? And I think that's what it was. So I was just in this hotel room. I was feeling like really depressed and I just didn't know what to do with my life. I know this will sound crazy, but I was just like, okay, like what now? And I got this notification of this news article on my iPad, and I typically would have like ignored it, but I saw Daegu in the headline, which how often, right? Like Daegu is a city, for those listening who don't know, in South Korea. And I was like, Daegu, why is that in the news? And it was this story, I think I shared this with you, Julie, of these grandmothers in Daegu who were going to school, like kindergarten, elementary school, to learn to read and write because they hadn't prior to that. They worked on farms like their entire lives. Their husbands had basically taken care of everything. And apparently the birth rate was pretty low. And, you know, people in the area like of childbearing age, you know, they were moving away, right? And those who stayed weren't getting married and having kids. So like the schools, there weren't a lot of kids in the classroom, particularly in these pre-K kindergarten classrooms. So they had teachers in classrooms and nobody coming, basically. So these women were going to school like with their grandchildren, learning to read. And I don't know. I was just so inspired by that. And I thought, here I am wondering like what to do, where to go next. I have all of this like tools and access and stuff. And I was letting my age and, you know, the fact that I have kids and all this stuff stop. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. And I thought, you know, look what these women are doing. Like, you know, why are you making all these excuses? And then a few weeks later, I was enrolled at Portland State University with the goal of wanting to work with adult learners to help them learn English. And so there's that. And then what you did a few years ago has always been a super big inspiration to me. I don't know if I ever told you that.
Oh,
definitely not to your face like this, kind of. But yeah, you doing what you did, I remember that. I remember you going to school for coding, right?
Mm-hmm. App Academy, yeah.
Yeah. And like you didn't just do that, but you had to like at the time, you know, leave your family to do it. Mm-hmm. Your husband and your 2 kids to go and do this like immersive like studying, learning for it was a couple of months, right?
It was 12 weeks, yeah.
And I just thought, and I saw you doing that, girl, and I was just like, that is amazing. And I used to have dreams, Julie. I used to have dreams about going to college as an adult and like wanting to like live on campus. Like, because I never had that experience. And like, I used to have dreams about that, like being and wanting to do it, but oh, I'm going to miss my kids. And so it's just weird that I used to have like kind of, I say dreams, but kind of like nightmares. And I think that kind of represented my desire to want to do other things, but thinking that I couldn't because I was a wife and a mom. And so how dare I, you know, want those things. And so to see you doing those things was huge. And I don't know if I ever told you that, but yeah. So anyway.
It was at the time, like, did not feel worth it.
Really?
Yeah, like, while you're doing it. Like,
yeah, that's true. I get it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. You're like, what am I? Like, you know, the first time, like, you're missing your kids or if you miss something in particular.
Yeah.
At home. I can see that. Yeah. But this is what this woman's doing. She's, you know, going to school. And I don't know. That just touched me. And it just reminded me of what kind of motivated me. The rice.
Wasn't it so cute when she was like, I'm third in my class.
Third in my class, yes. She's like, I go.
And like, I'm just like, who is this smart ass kid who's like number 1?
Right.
What an asshole.
What a little asshole. Respect your elders. Just relax, kid. Relax. When she tastes the rice.
Oh, yeah.
I cried. See, you see what I mean? How many times the show made me cry? Because I was like, what? She was like, you taste it, right? And I was like, taste what? Like, what you do to the rice?
Yeah, I knew immediately what they were going to say, yeah.
And is that, so obviously, that's a thing? Like, that's true? Like, you can tell?
Yeah.
That it was grown in Korea, the rice.
Yeah, so, like, the different like subspecies or whatever between like Chinese rice and Japanese rice and Korean rice, like they're definite different strains, and then there's definite different ways to cook it. Like we do higher pressure or whatever, and so like the grain feels different in the mouth.
Wow. And obviously, like I know, like this makes sense. Like I've had different types of rice, but like I don't know, it was just it means something different. if that makes sense.
Oh God, yeah. It was such a great symbol to put all that complicated history into rice, but
Yes.
it was perfect. It
Yes,
worked.
it did. Yeah,
Oh,
she said it was, and to the point where then when Solomon, like, she was like, taste it again, and he tastes it, and she looked just like, oh, look at him, he don't even know, like,
yeah, exactly. And he looked so mad still. Like I think he was like just getting madder and
yes,
madder.
yes, because it feels like he was being reminded
Yeah.
how much he doesn't know, maybe.
Yeah.
And
And
then to the point where she when his grandmother started crying and
yeah.
she had to tell him, don't you look down on her, she earned those tears.
Oh God, that line.
Right, right,
Oh.
right. Man, I know I said earlier that I was just I couldn't take it, like I thought I was ready, and then I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, nope, die in these graves. I'm not there yet. I know I just said that, but I was watching this scene and I was like, man, we should all be so lucky to
Hmm.
age like this.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? To like
Yeah.
reach that age and be able to talk about, for good, for better or worse, all this history, and to know so many things, and to just have all that age on your body and your face, if that makes sense. Like that's
Hmm.
that's lucky. That's a privilege. But anyway, this was such a good scene.
It was so good.
It really was. What about when she said, like how she said something like, it used to be that having rice was like special,
Hmm. Yeah.
but now she says we have it with every meal, and she was like, and you think that's a good thing?
Yes.
Oh,
And then the camera points to Solomon.
yes, 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 because he don't get it.
Yep.
He doesn't get it yet.
Ah.
So yeah, that was really good, and you could see it when they talked about going home again. She said that it was that she went once, like in the 70s, I think,
Mhm.
and that it felt different. So when's the last time? Like what this you don't you can absolutely, Nico, I need you to not breathe in my mic when mommy's trying to record. You hear my dog? Do you hear
Yeah.
him?
I love him.
I love him too, but he's so needy and he's so sleepy. You could just see it in his eyes. Um, in any question I ask, you're more than welcome to be like, mind your business. I don't want to talk
Oh, of
about
course.
that. But like, and I know you said you tried to like broach this subject with your parents and stuff, but like, do they talk about that? Like, is it like the last time they went back? Like, is there a feeling of, I don't know this place
Oh,
anymore, or does it feel like, oh nope, I'm home?
yeah. You know what's funny? It's they have talked about. So there was a long time when when we couldn't go back. Not there was finance was a thing, but
Right,
also
right.
immigration was a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we were in process to either get a green card or citizenship, and then you're not supposed to leave the country during that time because you won't be able to come back in.
Got it.
Um, and oh yeah, that's the thing. It's like most immigrants are illegal at some point because like you're kind of in limbo
Mm-hmm.
during that
Mm-hmm.
time. You're
Mm-hmm.
illegal. But anyway, um, so they like my mom like missed her father's funeral, for example.
Mm.
Um, and when we finally were able to go, I think it was '89. I was in fifth grade, and I remember watching my parents very carefully,
Mm.
right, to see like how they would act, and like they looked kind of like stunned,
Mm.
right? I guess it's kind of the word. And of course, like they were happy to see, but like I thought they would like cry or something,
Right, right.
and but it was mostly smiles. And then I remember asking them later, and they were like, "It's hard to put your finger on it, but we have changed. Like we have changed
Mm.
so much that." It was home in the fact that like all like the people I grew up with and stuff are
Right.
there, but especially you know during that time there was a huge difference in like philosophy and like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
do you do, like
Right.
what were their plans for me, right?
Mm.
that they're like, I am American, like I'm a lot more American than I thought I was. And then we they would go back, to kind of more social stuff, just cause like later
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I think they got more comfortable with it, especially since Korea started, prospering. There's also that kind of guilt there too, of like you kind of made it out, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like, but it was like a cowardly way out, etc. Like it's all complicated.
It's complicated. It's
Yeah.
complicated. So the feeling of it's mentioned in the beginning when she talks about because of what happened with her mother, she feels her blood is cursed. I'm talking about Sunja's mom. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then I feel like, forgive me, I don't, because I don't have it in my notes. I feel like somebody else mentioned something similar in one of the other episodes, and I was like, is this them describing in a way Han? This the first I heard of it was you, I think. Like even before I started learning Korean, I think you shared an article. And I was like trying to understand it. But the article was trying to explain Han. And the one thing I got, I think one of the first things was, it's hard to explain. It's almost like hard to put into words that it's a feeling of. And so when they mention stuff like that, and then also, oh God, is it in the conversation that the fisherman was having? But there's also this idea that some people thought that they lost their country, that some Koreans blamed the Koreans in power at the time that Japan colonized them as you lost your country, like blaming them,
sold us out or whatever.
Yeah. And that even that, like that, those feelings of anger, I would imagine, and resentfulness, feeds into, is part of this feeling of Han. And I'm probably butchering it, and it's not my place to try to explain it.
No, you're absolutely right. Like anger is an important part of it for sure.
And so is that what, can you try to explain to people what Han is before? And we're almost done, by the way. I know this went really long. Oh God, sorry. That was a motorcycle outside. I'm going to just touch on the little things that kind of lead us into where the show is going. And then we have one bit of feedback to read. But but I want to give you an opportunity to comment on that, because I feel like that will probably come up again over the course of the series. And then, of course, anything else that you want to add about it before we go that doesn't.
Yeah. So Han, again, there's no dictionary definition. But like, number one, like we think it's so ingrained in us that it's like genetic. And so, like, when I first heard about is it called epigenetics? Like, when, like, trauma is inherited in the DNA, like, through scarring almost of DNA. Like, I'm just like, whoa, like, that is, like, scientific proof of Han. Like, it's, like, inherited. And it's, like, deep loss and, like, kind of the anger and grief that comes with that. But there is a little bit of like righteous indignation, like it was stolen and taken, what is rightfully ours.
Yes.
So, either the culture, like how in the Japanese occupation, like they were trying to wipe out the language, they were trying to wipe out our like indigenous cultures, etc. Right. In turn, of course, took the land.
Right.
Like it's like that feeling you would get if someone did that to you, but inherited.
Yes.
But also, it's happened so many times throughout multiple generations, you feel this hopelessness. So basically, it's that. Yeah. Also, it makes really good poetry. Like I used to always joke that, like, I think Irish people have it too. Like Irish poems, like they just hit different, right? Like
all the pain. It feels like, well, I mean, we're joking, but like when you hear like Negro spirituals, like during slavery, like nobody knows, like we
Yeah,
feel,
it's that shit, but
yes,
more angry. Yeah.
yes, yes. But you said that, and that is, and I didn't know that there was actually like a scientific term for that. But like, again, I'm trying like relating to that through slavery and the civil rights movement. If did you watch Lovecraft Country?
I did.
So like that was a big part of it too, like the idea of inherited trauma and passing that down in the blood. I also think Watchmen, another HBO series, kind of touched on that a little bit too.
Yes.
But that's a very real thing. And when you said that, when you touched on like things that were taken from us and that were stolen, I often think about that in terms of like a great term that I learned recently, the global majority, because that's what we are, honest people of color, right?
Yeah.
But I often think about that in terms of us, the global majority, and what would things have been like for us without those horrible things, without
Oh yeah.
colonization and slavery.
Like
And
Wakanda.
right, exactly, right? Like, whoa, but like what would that be? What type of people would we be without this constant I feel like fighting against whiteness,
Yeah.
dismantling of oppressive systems? Like what would it have been like if we were just allowed to like live and
Apparently
not
something
spend our
terrifying.
lives trying to tear down systems and
Yeah.
you know
The possibility of that is so terrifying to people and who have power now that they'll do anything to protect it or protect against it. So
and then even after the war, Korea being, I don't know what's even the word for it. What do you call it? Korea being divided,
yeah,
split,
severed. Yeah.
severed. I don't know, the things we do to each other. It's just so. It almost feels like, we're talking about like this in a fictional kind of way, some of this, right? Because some of this is a fictional story,
Yeah.
but it's like crazy because it's not. Like so many of the horrible things that we talk about in fiction are just things that we've thought of because we've done, and just like what we've done to people. Talking to people, one of the women who helps me with Korean, hearing her say she has family members that, her parents have family members that they've just never seen anymore. They don't know if they're alive or dead.
Yeah.
In North Korea. And it's just what people do to each other. Anyway. So we talked about the wrapping up of how this story ends. We're in a position where the woman does agree eventually to sell her home.
Yes.
Solomon challenges her, basically accuses her of it being basically like selfish. Like, think of your kids, like this money could change their lives. They wouldn't have to want for anything. But he says this one interesting thing where he's like, it is their turn to account to us.
Yeah.
Because he was basically like, I feel like a black person would have been like, if you don't take these white people money, just let these white people pay you. But no, it kind of felt like that, right? Like that's what he meant when he said make them account. Yeah. He was talking about like basically take this Japanese money and take care of your family. Let them have this house.
Yep.
What would you have done?
If I was the landowner? I think I would have done exactly what she did, where it's like, I'm going to do what you wanted me to do, but it wasn't you that did it. Like, it wasn't his personal victory.
Yeah.
Because it was not on his terms at all.
Right.
I mean, I'm not that stubborn. Like, I would not. Like, this is like, like you saw this in Up too, right? That Pixar movie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You
That's right.
sell or whatever. I'm not that stubborn. I have a there's a price for anything for me. Like,
Yeah, me too.
like $1 billion yen sounds like a lot of yen.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not sure what the conversion is, but it sounds like a lot.
it sounds a lot.
And it was 1989.
Yeah, I would have, I've been like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, at first I thought like she was holding out because like her husband is buried there.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I thought. Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it. It was just like her just not wanting to say yes to Japanese prosperity.
Yep.
Which is awesome. Like,
I get it.
To say that and also be $1 billion yen richer.
Yep. You know what I wanted? When she was talking to her and you could feel Sinja feeling like when she started crying and she said the rice made her think of her wedding, her mother and her wedding day, she started crying. I was like, can y'all both go back to Korea? And I want like a road trip buddy show of these two women going
just tearing it up. I know.
I was like, please let the rest of the episodes be them just traveling around Korea.
Yeah, fuck these kids. These like spoiled ass kids.
Fuck all of this shit. But I know that's not what the show is about. I know that's not what the book was about. So, but by the end of it, though, she does tell Moses. Sunja says she wants to go home.
Yes.
And I cried again.
And like, she was so excited.
Yes.
Like the way. Oh God. What's her? Yoon. Oh, Yojong. Yoon Yojong. This is like where she's shown, like, because like she.
Yes.
In her face and her body motions, I saw that little girl.
Yes. Yes.
I saw the teenage version.
Yes.
Like, they were all talking to him.
Yep.
And I think he acted it well. Like, he took that. He's like, I'm not just talking to my mom right now.
Yes.
And he's like, okay.
Yeah. He didn't treat that like, it wasn't like she just showed up and was like, hey, I need to buy a new vacuum or just some whimsical. Yeah. It was just, this is more than my mom standing here saying she wants to go home. Like you said, I think he felt this was all the versions of her, all those years and all those things. She wants to go home. Okay. So, 2 quick things. We got the feedback, and I do want to mention how it ends for Sunja, which I thought she just gave, in terms of performances, this speech where she talks about her father and the promise that he made to her and how she's already made that promise to this unborn child. She's just like, I know I'm going to have to move away and people are going to shun me. And we are so bad to women all over, aren't we?
It's like in eerily similar ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, really? We're going to do all this to this young girl. What are we doing to the guy? Like, and she just accepted it. Yeah, I'm going to have to live away from my mom. And I was just like, good Lord. But he offers her. He's like, if you were offered, do you think that you could, accept this and love someone else? And I was like, oh my God, girl, yes.
And the way he asked it was so sweet.
It was. Ugh. It was very sweet. This was, I'm so excited to, and like when I asked you, I knew it was 3 episodes. So I was like, because I was supposed to record, I think like the day I asked you, I was going to watch the 3 episodes and record that night. And so I went and told the listeners, I said, listen, I had to ask for help to come talk about this because nobody just wants to hear me talk about this. But then that meant, of course, that I couldn't watch more because I don't like to watch ahead of, when I'm, you know what I mean? I don't want to like sit here and pretend I don't know what happens next. So I'm super excited to record with you so I can now go watch episode 4.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read this feedback we have from Kimberly, and it's just about the first episode. And then I will let you get out of here. Thank you for taking time out because I think you're like on vacation or something, aren't you?
Yeah, but this is vacation to me.
Okay. So Kimberly says, hi, Nina and Donnie. Actually, it's not Donnie. It's just me and Julie. I'm excited for Pachinko because after years of reading books like The Alienist, The Hanging Tree, and A Curious Beginning, I'm currently into historical fiction slash mysteries that center non-white characters. Yes. Okay. June Her. That's her name. It just popped into my head. And The Forest of Lost Girls. I think that's the name of the book.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
I just finished the audiobook, The Silence of Bones by June Her. There you go. The Silence of Bones. Okay, and I immediately added her other available works to my wish list. Yay. The first episode of this miniseries did not disappoint. The backstory provided about how the annexing of Korea by Japan, which included the stripping of Korean culture, was as informative as the presentation is captivating. The notion of a curse that stands at the center of one family's misfortune might be familiar, but I found myself sucked in right away. The introduction of Sunja only serves to seal the deal. She's the best. That little girl, they did so great with the casting of
I
this
don't
character.
understand how she was. That girl can act.
Listen. I've said this before on this podcast. Kaylee has said, like, it is not like something like I say to people. Like, they typically come to me first and say it. We're watching some K-drama, and Kaylee was like, wow, these Korean child actors are really good.
Yeah, like, where are they channeling this shit? My God.
Don't listen. I don't know if y'all just over there in Korea, they got like a different standard where they're like, look, we not putting no non-acting. Because I feel like a lot of times, I'm really hard on child actors, but I feel like a lot of times it's just cute. If they're cute, we're just going to put them in there.
Yeah.
But I feel like these kids are cute and they can fucking act. Like, they're acting their asses off.
Yes.
And I was like you said, where is she getting all of this?
Yeah, what is she, usually you like have to channel something, right? Like, that's happened to you or whatever.
Right? Like, what happened to you in 4th grade that you can do this? Oh, but yeah, it's just really good casting. Then she says, the undercurrent of sexual abuse seen when the Japanese soldiers visited Sonja's home and smiled that smarmy smile to her mother after the cruel treatment doled out to her father broke my heart for her treatment doled out to Sonja's father broke my heart for her when he died. Yes. There's that and the whole, and those were Japanese boys that were attacking her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of them said something about like the food or the language or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally, she says, I like the switches from past to future where we see Sunja's grandson, Solomon. They are well done and you are never left confused about the timeline. True. The concept of hate being a curse and shame being its offshoot is one I am interested in seeing explored. So, thank you, Julie, so much for taking time out of your day to sit and talk to me about TV for a few hours. I would absolutely love it. I don't know if you, again, I know you've already read the book, so I don't know if you have the time or if you have the interest of coming back to talk about future episodes with me.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to, make you wait, though. But, like, we'll set up, like, a schedule.
Okay, yeah. Like, if you can, like, I'm so willing to just, like, work around you. So it's not like if I don't do this, like, I don't have other stuff to record because, like, it's pretty much podcasts a day here. Yeah, you just let me know when you have time to get together to talk about episode 4 and we can do that. I'm really enjoying this, learning a lot, obviously. It's always nice, again, to watch things in Korean, and even if I just understand, like, 1 or 2 things.
Yeah.
It is helping a bit with my listening comprehension of the language. But it's a beautiful series so far, and I would be super, super happy if you would come back to talk about it with me.
I would absolutely love to. Especially because, like, I haven't watched episode 4 either, and it's like a different director, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's Justin Chan's, like, shift.
And listen, he's been in the news for some not some nice things too.
Oh, always. Yeah.
With the adoption
Bayou, the Blue
Bayou, yeah, there was some stuff there. I'm really curious. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I'm really curious to see what that looks like, how it looks different. Because I did like a lot of what the director, what is his name?
Kogonada.
I did like a lot of what they did, although I have to say there was something about, I think it was like the sex scene that was a little like the camera angles were like kind of awkward to me. But then later I wondered if that was on purpose because it was her first time, and it's always supposed to be awkward.
Yeah. It was uncomfortable for
I
me
think
to
it's
watch.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
And how much older is he? Is he supposed to be than her? I don't know why that did not occur to me until just this moment.
Oh, he's probably a lot older, right? She's pretty young.
She has to be at most 17.
Yeah, I would have guessed like 16 or 17. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I hadn't considered that. I don't know why I thought he was just like a young guy, but he's not.
Yeah, and he had enough time to make three other kids.
Three daughters.
Yeah.
Lord. Anyway. Okay, well, that's it. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening to this, this is one of our free shows. So you can access this via Apple Podcasts. I always want to say iTunes, but I forgot they changed it. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play. We're on all those things. But we also have premium content over on Patreon, patreon.com/podcastfandom. We're covering a lot of stuff, including Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, Tiger and Bunny, Moon Knight, From. What else, Kaylee? Help me out. The K-drama extracurricular. Super Crooks. A lot of stuff. Halo. A lot of stuff over there. And just added some new stuff. There's a documentary. No, I'm sorry. It's actually a series based off of the real life case of, it's called The Staircase. Do you guys remember this? The guy in North Carolina, he was like a writer, like a crime writer. And he was like accused of killing his wife, like pushing her down the stairs. There's been so many like documentaries covering it. Anyway, HBO turned it into a TV show because that's what HBO does. And we're going to be covering that, as well as a new show called Shining Girls, starring Elizabeth Moss, and one more. Oh, We Own This City, which is by the creator of The Wire. And it features a lot of the same people behind that production, including a lot of the actors, and it is about a corrupt Baltimore City task force. So a lot of great stuff over on patreon.com/podcastfandom. Would love it if you went and signed up. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week to talk about Pachinko episode 4.